India suffered a massive setback just ahead of the toss for the second test against South Africa as captain Virat Kohli was ruled out due to an upper back spasm. In fact, opening batsman Rahul is leading the team right now in Kohli's absence, with India aiming to win their first ever test series on South African soil. In fact, I'm now being joined by Jamie Alter, a senior sports commentator on this particular issue. Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time out. First of all, how do you read the absence of Virat Kohli? And there was no prior announcement. We got to know about it right at the time of toss. Now, social media is already buzzing over what could have been the reason for Virat to give second test a miss. What do you think?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. As far as I am aware, as far as I have tried to find out in the last hour and a half since this happened, Virat Kohli is very much injured. There's not too much to look beyond it. But I think the fact that we're discussing this just says how the BCCI could have handled this whole matter better. Not just the news that Virat Kohli was not playing, but just Virat Kohli in general. I mean, look, Virat Kohli may well have a back spasm, but who do we believe? You've already raised the fact that social media is a buzz. And we all know that it does not take anything to get that happening. But why is it buzzing? Because of all that's happened in the last 10 days, 2 weeks regarding Virat Kohli. I'll take you back to last Friday, 31st of December at 8:30. There was a press conference from the chairman of selectors, Chetan Sharma. When has the BCCI ever had a press conference on the 31st of December? In that, a lot was said. I mean, doesn't that press conference take away from the fact that India has a series to win, that India has a test match to play like in 3-4 days? So the situation is now, okay, hum kisko believe kare? Do you believe Ganguly? Do you believe Chetan Sharma? Do you believe Virat Kohli? I think that's the bigger picture, the whole mess that the BCCI currently finds itself in.
Right. In fact, Jamie, not to forget, just yesterday, Coach Dravid had heaped praises on Virat Kohli for being in a really good space. He used this particular phrase that he is in really good space, and there was no mention of any injury or any other issue.
That's what makes Virat Kohli's absence at the toss this morning or this afternoon, if you're in South Africa, such a surprise, because there was no prior knowledge, no prior intimation that anything was even remotely wrong. But knowing Rahul Dravid, having watched Indian cricket for so long and having covered Dravid, I don't think Dravid, if Dravid knew anything, he would come out and say it. So I'm not going to second guess Rahul Dravid here. It's very possible players do wake up on match morning. We've seen so many players get injured 5 minutes before the toss, be it Rohit Sharma almost a decade ago, Glenn McGrath stepped on a ball at Lord's on the morning of an Ashes test match. So injuries do happen. But I think the fact that, like I said, we're speculating is because of all that's happened. And for this, I squarely put the blame on the BCCI just for poor miscommunication regarding almost anything that has to do with Virat Kohli.
That is absolutely correct. In fact, Jamie, also we saw how this particular series against South Africa actually started on a rather ominous note. In fact, there was a huge controversy that we all witnessed between Virat Kohli and Ganguly. And then we saw Kohli gave all the pre and post-match press conferences a miss. Do you think the relationship between Virat Kohli and the team management is under considerable strain as we speak?
I have no doubt about this. You can even have a passing interest in Indian cricket and you can pick up that things are not well with Virat Kohli and the board. Again, I just go back to what I said a few minutes ago. The blame for me in this case lies solely with the BCCI. As much as people like to pull down Virat Kohli for his brash attitude, as much as I've seen Virat Kohli up close in the last decade odd, I don't think Virat Kohli is someone who's going to rock up and not speak the truth. So I think if something is not adding up, it's definitely on the part of the BCCI. But all this will, of course, have a strain on not just Virat Kohli, but someone like Rahul Dravid, the team management. India, let me just remind you, has never won a test series in South Africa in like 6 previous tours. This is by all means India's best chance to go out and wrap up a first test series win. This Indian team under Virat Kohli and Rahane, when he leads now and then, is without a doubt the best touring Indian test team ever put together. So why is there a hindrance like, board politics and miscommunication coming before a series like you also raised, but also now between the series? Let's keep the focus on the fact that India have a job to do, that is to win a test series in South Africa. And all this off-field speculation does nothing to put the Indian team in a better space.
Right, let's talk about cricket now. What's the impact of Virat's absence in the team now? India is looking in a great form and, of course, looking at a series victory here. But you think team is going to miss Virat, the skipper, more than Virat, the player?
Question, and for the first time, I will have to answer yes. This time, they're actually going to miss Virat Kohli, the captain, the leader, the thinker, the man, manager, more than Virat Kohli, the batsman. Sounds very strange to say that, but the way that Virat Kohli has been batting, and not just about 5 months ago, 4 months ago, you could have said that he was getting starts, he was looking good, but just not getting the big score. But since then, he's just not looked that convincing. Of course, you always want Virat Kohli, a former number one, in your lineup. But India has enough batting depth right now to, I think, cover for the lack of runs Virat Kohli has. Again, that sounds really strange to be saying this live, that Virat Kohli, the batsman, will not be missed in a test match. But definitely here the leadership, because KL Rahul, despite his immense talent as a batsman, is not really, to my mind, a leader. I know that he's been named leader here on short notice, as well as for the ODI team, but he's not captained enough in his domestic career, barring the IPL, to show that he's the man for the job. So that also just adds to the overall confusion leading this team. But I think the fact that Virat Kohli has not been scoring runs, that part can be taken care of by the likes of KL Rahul and Rahane, Pujara, Hanuma Vihari, who's back in the 11. So I'm not too worried about that aspect.
Also, Jamie, as you mentioned, you can't help but mention KL Rahul. Who would have thought that apart from ODIs, he will now have to lead the test side also?
And I take nothing away. I'm not saying this to discredit KL Rahul. He's a fine batsman. I'm a big fan of him, but he's not shown, or he's not got enough opportunities to lead in first-class cricket to perhaps be thrust this role. That said, someone in the team management saw that spark in him, and hence he was named the next vice captain instead of Ajinkya Rahane, who's had a fairly poor year. So when you have a vice captain, you've seen some spark in him. You expect him to go out and lead. But I just feel that this is a huge task, because Rahul's batting has really evolved. He was out of the test team for over a year and a half. He was brought back in the middle order in the England tour because of injury to Mayank Agarwal. He had to open. He did very well. Then he was rested for the home series against New Zealand. So he himself is finding his feet in test cricket, and now he's been asked to captain as well. It's a huge burden on his shoulders.
Right, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us and for this conversation, of course. And a lot of theories, a lot of questions over Virat missing the second test. Team says it's an injury. Fans smell something amiss. We'll be tracking all the developments, all the reactions which are coming on this big story.